April 27th, 2023, NFL Draft is coming up. And one of the positions that people like to look at in terms of the NFL Draft, where you'd like to find some value as well, obviously quarterback is the one that many people look at, but also at wide receiver. And there is an interesting group heading into this year's draft. So let's talk about it with NFL Draft analyst for NBC Sports. That is Connor Rogers, who joins me now. Connor, ready to talk some wide receivers?
Always. Dexter, this is my favorite position group to go through every single year, by far. I mean, it's where the fun is, right? Everybody wants to be a wide receiver at the NFL level, so this is by far the best talking group of all the positions.
Okay, I was going to ask you why it was that and why it was not quarterback or something else, but you're right. Everybody does want to be a wide receiver. When I was playing football, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a wide receiver, which was only on the schoolyard. I didn't play anything past that. But this is an interesting group, right, where Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State, he is supposed to be the cream of the crop. At least that's what everybody says, but you're the expert, so you're going to tell me in this. The question with him is he only played in 3 games last season. Is that a big question mark when it comes to talking about where he could be drafted, or is this a no-brainer and you've got to take this guy?
This is the no-brainer for me, and I'm glad everybody's kind of come full circle, right? You start doing this class last summer, and you look at Jackson Smith-Njigba, the 1,600-yard season he had in 2021, and you look and go, this guy was the best wide receiver in the draft class when you started that early. And then you look at what he's been able to do. Yeah, he was hurt this year, and that happens at the college level. And guys miss that final season. Doesn't mean they change as players, especially for somebody who didn't have a career-altering injury. And you look at the testing process, 96th and 97th percentile agility testings in the 3-cone and the shuttle. That is change of direction that shows up on the field and why this guy is always open. I mean, he played a lot in the slot. He's a dominant possession target. He's a phenomenal adjuster to the football, works back to his quarterback when the play breaks down. The short area quickness and the polish in his routes and releases. You could tell this guy studies the game. I mean, I got to talk to him one-on-one at the combine, and you ask him, who do you like to really mold your game around? And he brings up an old school comp in Steve Smith. He brings up different release packages from guys like Cooper Kupp. So this is somebody that just lives and breathes the position. I think he's got enough build-up speed. I don't worry about the speed. He's a quarterback's best friend. He caught 8 of 9 contested catch targets in 2021. He wins with traffic. He's fearless, and that's why he's the best wide receiver in this year's draft.
All right, you got him as the best wide receiver in this year's draft, but where do you see him going, Connor? Which team is going to say, hey, this is the best wideout, got to grab him? Where do you see him going in the draft?
I think the combo starts with Tennessee at 11 if they feel like they need another wide receiver. Houston at 12 would definitely be in play. Depending what the Jets think of their offensive line group, would they bring him and Garrett Wilson back together at pick 13? The Patriots, even after signing Juju Smith-Schuster, need wide receiver help at 14. And if the Packers pass on this guy at 15, if he's there, I give up with Brian Gutekunst and drafting wide receivers in the first round. I will completely wave the white flag and stop asking for it every single year. So Jackson Smith-Njigba should be a lock for the top 15 if logic actually prevails.
All right, so after him, you had in your rankings, you had Jordan Addison, who I'm a bit familiar with, played at Pitt and then went to USC. Why is he the next best guy that you see in terms of being able to make an impact on the NFL level at wide receiver?
Such a smooth operator at all 3 levels of the field, inside, outside. I understand he's an undersized guy. I understand he didn't run in the 4.3s, but at the end of the day, playing football and being a good football player on tape still has to account for something. And you look at the Bilikinoff season at your alumnus in Pitt, that was a great year. He got to USC, and maybe the production wasn't the same, but he was better. He dropped less passes. He played a cleaner game. His routes were phenomenal, playing with Caleb Williams. So easy gas off the line of scrimmage. He understands how to sell his routes sharply, head and shoulder fakes, really sells against defensive backs. He's a great punt returner. He's shifty before the catch, and then when he gets the ball in his hands, he has a lot of wiggle as well to make defenders miss. So Jordan Addison, a skinnier wide receiver, but it doesn't matter if you can't really get your hands on him at the line of scrimmage. I think he'll be a high-end number 2 in the draft, and somebody that, you look at player comps, does remind me of T.Y. Hilton, who had so many great years for the Colts.
All right, that's a good comp there. I want to talk to you about your tier 3, right? Because you've got Quentin Johnson, you've got Zay Flowers, and you also have Cedric Tillman, who played at Tennessee. Of that grouping of those 3 guys, who do you like best? Do you think it's going to be in that order that they'll go, or do you think somebody may take a chance on one of these guys a little bit earlier than you might project them going?
Ironically, my fifth wide receiver, Zay Flowers, can go before number 3, Quentin Johnston, and number 4, Cedric Tillman. That's just how I see it, but the NFL could see it differently with Zay. I mean, lightning quickness, very unique movements. He's a slot-only guy, in my opinion, even though he played outside at Boston College as well. He's just an undersized player. He's very similar to what the Jets had in Elijah Moore before moving him to the Cleveland Browns in terms of speed, in terms of the ability in the short area of the field with enough juice to get over the top, but not guys that are going to consistently win at the catch point. And then you go back to number 3 to kind of buck that trend in Quentin Johnston. He reminds me of what Martavis Bryant was before he was out of the league. The splash plays are phenomenal. He can win above the rim. The consistency is what concerns me. You look at 11 of his 14 games this year, held to less than 5 catches, only eclipsed the 100-yard mark in 4 of his 14 games. So Quentin Johnston's splash plays are as good as any skill player in this draft, but the consistency needs to be dialed in. He needs to become more of a natural pass catcher and consistently win the football and get open at a higher rate. But if he finds that, you have a true outside number 1 wide receiver. And then the guy that a lot of people have slept on for so long is Cedric Tillman. When you look at Tillman, he's a Cortland Sutton clone to me. He's got the size. He's got the frame to shield. He goes up and wins the football. He catches everything. He has enough vertical speed to at least challenge defenders down the field over the top with that build-up speed. I mean, he lit up Alabama in 2021. 7 catches, 152 yards, and a touchdown. Lit up Georgia, who won the national title that year. 10 catches, 200 yards, and a touchdown. The reason why his stock is low is he had an ankle surgery in 2022 that he came back from a little bit too early. So I think when you look at Cedric Tillman, contested catch monster, possession player, great hands. I love him. I think he'll be drafted in the second round of the draft, and I think he'll be the biggest steal of this wide receiver class.
Biggest steal of the wide receiver class. So when you look and say that, and he could be the biggest steal and good value, you can see him in round, you said round 2. You said round 2, right? You could see him playing in round 2, going in round 2. Okay, so good value there. Jackson Smith-Njigba, do you look at him as the potential Hall of Famer out of this crop? Is he the best playmaker out of this crop that you can see doing this for many years?
Yeah, if you had to pick one, it would be him because the level of consistency is phenomenal. I love the mentality. I don't care that he played in the slot. I think he can win inside, outside. You just like what he does to win inside. I mean, you look at how polished his game is without that true vertical burning speed. It's the argument we had with Cooper Kupp coming out of college where you go, well, I love the way he attacks the football. I love that he gets open. I love that he makes catches in traffic and at the catch point. And, you know, I don't mind that it's always in the middle of the field or working from the slot. I just wish he was faster. And then you get to the NFL and all of those things translate and you go, well, why did I care that much about that as long as he passes the speed threshold? And I think it's a little similar for Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm not saying he'll be a player of Cooper Kupp's level, but it wouldn't surprise me if he reaches that kind of pinnacle because of just how much polish he has in his game. I think he can come into the NFL and go for 1,000 yards right away.
When you look at the draft and the way everything is right now set up in the order that teams can draft, which team absolutely, positively needs a wide receiver to change their fortunes right now, to help their offense? Who badly needs a wide receiver, and where do you think one of these guys is the best fit for that team as well, too?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because you look at Houston, if they take a quarterback at 2, you know, they really need another wide receiver for that quarterback to throw to. And then I go all the way back down to a team like the Giants at 25. They're just loaded with inside slot receivers. They need somebody that can win on the outside. So the Giants come to mind as well. And then you even look at Seattle at 20, who's a little bit of a sneaky one with Seattle because DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are great. When Tyler Lockett got hurt last year, they didn't have that next option to throw to. So they really need that number 3 as well. And then the final one, the Vikings at 23. I mean, it can't just be Justin Jefferson all out there on his own. And I like what Osborne could do. They lost Thielen in free agency. They need to give Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins a little help. So the Vikings at 23 are definitely in play for a wide receiver too.
All right, there you go. Should be an interesting draft for the wide receivers on April 27th. We will see where everybody will go. Connor Rogers, he's going to have you covered doing his NFL draft analysis for NBC Sports. You can also see him on the SNY Jets pre- and post-game show. Connor, it's been so fun breaking these down with you. Draft talk, it's a lot of information, but you make it seem so smooth and so easy. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Dexter. It's been a blast. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Again, that is Connor Rogers. Go check out his work, and thank you for watching this edition of the 2023 NFL Draft Preview.